Hey everybody, here we are. This is Brandy J. You might think this is Voices of Courage, but this is a voice of courage, but this is a lady's life with Brandy J. And today I have with me the great Sarah J. Or should I say SJ?
Yeah, and Sarah, that is correct too. It's Sarah Jean. So SJ is where that came from.
Yay. Yes, how are you doing today?
Oh, it's such an honor to be here. I'm just so excited to jump right in and have this great conversation and give some value to our listeners and community.
Yes, most definitely. I thank you. Thanks for being my first guest for Ladies Life. Like I said originally, this was supposed to run. It still will run on the Real Wise Radio, but for certain reasons, I mean, here we are, and I'm so excited. So, everyone. So, Sarah, I know that you, as well as I, we're both mothers, and we also have similarities when it comes to our care and concern for being bullied. That B word, bully,
Mm.
or B and B, bully and bullied.
Yeah, definitely.
So can you tell
Yeah.
me a little about what's like? How did you start to become like into, that? Because for me, I know it was watching my son go through it. Really
Yeah,
put me in that place. So what was it for
definitely.
you?
That's interesting. I guess it's twofold because I have a physical difference, and here I'll just show everybody really quickly. I have these little tiny ears, and both of them really tiny. And for me, I was always referred to as little ears growing up. And some people may think that, oh, that's no big deal or anything, but anything that really diminishes your self-esteem or your value about yourself or being different, is really rough. And so when my kids, I have a stepdaughter who is 22. So I've raised an adult since I've raised her since she was 5. But of course, she didn't have those same concerns or things to deal with. But my two biological kids, when they came, they did have that same heredity. And right away, it was um, a fear that they may go through the same pain from their peers as I had to go through, kind of being pointed out as different all the time. And so I started writing children's books. And in fact, I grabbed this one and put this one here today because it's Anna the Kitten, a book about physical differences. And it's my daughter having, kind of the same aspects gonna go into life with I wanted to prepare her for a life of, yes, you may be different, but this is how to embrace that, how to be proud of it, how to stand up for yourself. And so that's kind of where my journey started with that subject.
Okay. Wow, wow. And it's it's good that you say that about the physical differences and all that stuff, because I was just talking to somebody the other day, right? Like my son used to he's growing, he's like getting my height now, but he was always picked on just because he was smaller, and he got so frustrated, and he had they kind of, it's like he had that little man syndrome, they would say, because he is so angry,
Yeah.
and that's where it mainly came from, and it made him feel away, like he even said it the other day. He was like, when am I gonna get taller? And I'm like, you are taller, you have gotten taller, you're like my height now, so you're growing. But I
Yeah.
don't think he would ever felt that way if that wasn't something that, when people pick on, your those things that you can't help, and like, why would you make fun of it? Like, it doesn't even make any sense, right?
No, it doesn't make any sense. And, it all comes from the lack of educating
Hmm.
truthfully and the lack of compassion that you're teaching your children to have for other people, whether or not it's that they, learn about different cultures and societies, or unfortunately, they're going to probably be cast in these consequential situations where they're going to have to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
And I think it's best when we prepare our kids with knowledge. A little bit of knowledge turns fear into understanding. That's something that we love to say, because we just need to arm them with the knowledge of differences. And that's okay. It's okay. I think back in, other generations, it was more covered up, differences, or don't allow you to look different out in society. But we're all different. And I think with everything coming out in 2022, it's like, can you ever imagine in the 1980s, like people being accepted as CEOs with tattoos or colored hair, and then just silly things
Right.
like that we're like today, like, so, you know,
Right.
but it was so huge then. It was like scoffed, and looked at all. And so it's interesting how, times have changed. And with that, so do we need to change, and the way we approach, new situations need to change. And just like I'm sure you're going to be able to talk about our school systems.
Yeah.
They cannot run on the same old systems that don't run in our society anymore.
Yeah.
It's wasteful.
Yeah, it's so true. I don't know. I don't know if you heard or came across the podcast I did the other day, because it was just on my mind. And so I just did it. Brandy, because they called me Miss Brandy, the teacher. And, so many things I want to talk about. There's so many things that run through my head. So I have to take notes so I can stay on point. But I get so passionate about the things, because some people, have you ever had anybody that just says something and you're just like, oh, stop talking already. Like, you don't even know don't talk about things you don't know about, and people would say, like, teachers need to mind their business. Teachers need to do their job, because I was telling these so-called teachers or parents, these new homeschooling parents that, right before the pandemic, we were working so hard at teaching our kids about empathy and kindness. I remember the last few months, right? Me and the other teacher with our classroom, I invested money, and it was okay, right? Because that's what I wanted to do. I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But it wasn't like where I thought it was so this isn't my job. I have to do this. No,
right.
This is what needs to be done. I would bring things, buy things. I invested so much, and it's stuff.
Real teacher.
Yeah, over time it would work. It was never a problem. But then you hear these parents say teachers need to do. They teach, and that's what they do. And I'm just like, you know what? Okay, let me break this down for you, honey.
Yeah.
How many days is there out of the year? 365. Okay, give or take away the holidays and yada yada yada, weekends. Either way it goes, they spend a great lengthy chunk of time at school. So we're with them a whole lot. So you might want to think about that, right? So they're not just these little things that just sit there and they don't have any problems or issues. They have behavior issues. You have to redirect. You have to discipline. They have emotional breakdowns. They have serious problems. Trust me, we had so many things we had to okay, what is it now? But we would do that if there's a problem amongst the peers, but it was never an issue like, this is not what I signed up for. This was the norm for I'm a teacher. I don't just indoctrinate you. That's what I call that. Stuff information in your head. No, I'm here to teach you how to function in the world, how to set out in the world and be better, how to do. That's what a teacher is. Anybody can put information in your head, but who can teach you? So for anybody out there that ever didn't really know what a teacher was, I hope I enlightened you.
Absolutely.
And that's where the bullying thing comes in. It's like you have to redirect. You laugh at somebody's shoes. Sorry, honey. You got to catch it, nip it in the bud. You never okay it. Don't laugh with them. Don't say, "Oh, that's what kids do." Don't tell me that, because you might feel like I bullied you after we get done talking.
The more schools and administrations take responsibility for fostering that type of an environment for kids to feel safe and to make sure that social emotional learning is taking place within every classroom. Right. I mean, that's what our world wants now. That's what they need to listen to. It's not things of the past where get the swatch out, right? Come on now, we move past that. So let's change our other ways of thinking that aren't working with our society. And let's move forward to make our next generation smarter, more compassionate, kinder people who don't have to, be wrapped up in all of this time wasting nonsense.
Exactly. Right. You hit the nail on the head?
There we go.
Hammer on the head. But you're so right. You're so right. I tell people, if you want to make change, because this is the thing when people say you can't change stuff, you can't this, can't that. Let me help you out. Because when we do that, then we tell our kids that they can't make change. And then what's it all for? But Yes, we can, but you have to be willing in order to do so. And to me, I feel like where we start at is with parenting and at home, and helping to raise, because that's where it starts at. We're all been kids to create better people, little people, so they can be better in the world. And then your child doesn't have to keep growing up amongst these monsters, because
Yeah.
these monsters come from somewhere, and it usually starts. I don't. If there wasn't a parent, the guardian, whomever, whatever,
Absolutely.
we have to do better with, and it starts at home and
Mhm.
when we're as a child. Nobody
Yeah.
just grows up and just is some crazy person. Or, for instance, Donald Trump, he didn't just pop out like, he didn't just come like that. Dude, that's been his whole life. That's who he's been. Anybody.
Yeah.
So to me, I feel like we have to start. We have to start with our youth. If we don't do it now, then what are we waiting for? Everybody's waiting for something. Oh, when I get my money right. Oh, when we do this, I'm like,
The time is now.
like, come on. How much is your child's life worth really? You got to break it down to people like that sometimes to get them
Yeah.
thinking, because we're so indoctrinated and caught up in this world that our kids are like second to us.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really important for new parents, especially, or, I think that sometimes people go into parenting knowing they're going into parenting, others don't, right? But I
Right.
think it's really important to ask yourselves at that moment of parenting. And believe me, I learned this after raising a child. So don't get me wrong, like I'm on a pedestal or anything here.
Right.
But what the real truth is look at your style of parenting that you had. Did you grow? Did you learn from it? Were you kept
Right.
safe? Were you kept emotionally secure? What types of things do you want to repeat? What types of things do you want to throw away? Do you feel like you have emotional scars from your past? Well, don't provide them for your child then. Learn how
Exactly.
to do it differently, which starts with you as the parent. And the more that it's so important that we realize that these children are children, but they're humans, and we are raising them to be the adults they're going to be.
Exactly.
It's so important that we start at those very, very early ages, even with simple things like learn how to thank people, like thankless. I call them the thankless people, the people who are washing windows or taking out the trash, and the people that you see on the outside just doing the hard work. That who's ever stopping to say thank you so much for the work that you're doing? That is building people up. That's how we
Sound too nice.
rise our
That's what I'm talking
society.
about. I like
This is
you,
how we
Ryan.
do this. Oh, thanks. I mean, I think that it's so important that we recognize the importance of doing things like that, because we have to start practicing to raise, everybody's habits.
Exactly. Because we're in this together, no matter how we want to cut it. I had a therapist, psychotherapist. No, she wasn't a psychotherapist. That was somebody else. She was on a few weeks ago, and she hit the nail on the head. She's a self care therapist. Well, she's not a self care, but she has a book, and that's what we were focusing on. Both what really I found interesting is how she explained, which I find it to be true, as how we affect the way we take care of ourselves affect everybody in our lives we come across. Your mental, your fine, and when people think of like mental health and self care and all that stuff, or with your mind, they're pretty basic. They don't really think about the spiritual, the soul, your social, what you put in your body, to just everything because everything is here. Everything we do, if there's no here, there's no us, right?
Yeah.
And so when you don't have those things taken, even at work with your boss and all that stuff, you don't have those things taken care of, then you go and you have to be amongst the asshole boss, or you're the asshole.
Yeah.
Or you're the asshole cashier, or they're the asshole. It really does affect everybody else. And when you are more centered and able to it's called the 8 dimensions. She has her eight dimensions. When I look at the book, I'll even
I'll
send it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you go through all of them, and then you realize that, like, if you knock all those out, you find yourself to be more like an enlightened person. People like to be around you because you've taken care of all those 8 dimensions, and realize that all of us really affect each other. And so when we deal with one another, like, yeah, let me get you this book.
Yeah.
So we can be amongst each other and
Yeah.
really just woosah,
I
you know?
love it. I love it. And, I think that I've been so lucky to have a spouse who completely, we go together hand in hand with everything, parenting, in our values, in our, like you just said, what we put in and out of our bodies, the things we put in and out of our minds, our children's put in and out of their minds. And so I think that in a lot of ways, we have changed so many parenting styles that we had been indoctrinated with, and changed it into this beautiful, thriving, happy, like biologically following system, which sounds strange, but I kind of think of it in two ways. You can either follow biology and kind of like forces of nature, it's a little bit chaos, but, or you can follow rules, society rules, right? There's a bedtime and a dinner time and a time and a time and a time, and everything is on a time. But do your bodies run on those societal time frames? Those are made up by man. Those are made up. Those aren't nature. Those aren't biological like ways of living. And it's different. And it took us a long time to get here. It wasn't like this jumped in and everything's great. Like we went through removing gluten and casein from our children's diets because they're neurodivergent. And for them, types of foods affect them differently and cause inflammation in their neural paths and in their gut stimuli. And so they have a hard time reacting or controlling their reactions, rather. Clean water, like we've just been going to this water wellness center for about 7 years now.
Cool.
And our kids and my husband and I drink this just clean water that has no minerals, no filtered, out chemicals or anything. And it's just the amount of purity and detoxification you can get from filtering those things out of your life is really amazing. And so I know that it's anecdotal, like experimentation, but it still has its great results.
Hell yeah, I totally agree. I read a lot and I do a lot of research. People tell me, oh, you need to do something else. I never understand that. I'm like, knowledge is power. I'm like, okay, what else would you have me to do? Would you like me to go? I don't know, like go to the liquor store. I don't know. So many other things I could be doing. I don't know. But it makes sense. Like food and water, like especially like the water and everything, it puts us on a lower level. And so when we feel like we're unhappy, whatever is going on with us, trust and believe it's gonna come back to what we're putting in our bodies. And because I went through a list of things, if people empty out their cabinets, they don't have any more food. I found out yesterday. Now the Pop Tarts, I already knew it was most of the cereals. The Pop Tarts, it has this. It's look. Well, let's see what this one has since we have this right here. You know what, Sarah? Because this is my new show, and I was about to tell you if you ever get hungry, because this is a lady's life. BYOB, bring your own bottle. That could be water, wine, or whatever it is you like.
Yeah, it's only 1:30. I mean, I guess I could be drinking a Hefeweizen. I would like to be. Right? 5, some 5:30 somewhere.
Just saying. But let's check it out. Because I have one. This one's supposed to be more of a healthier one. Now this one is Space Jam: The New Legacy. Okay. Now the crazy part, right? They usually say if you can't read it, then don't eat it. I'm trying. Oh, is that word that they were telling me about? Phosphate, and I think it was something else. But I'm gonna look that one up. But then the stuff that's on here, you look into that one, and that has some other stuff. And it was just amazing how we went through the cabinet. It was like, well, what the hell am I supposed to eat?
Yeah. Nothing in a box or a bag, which is almost impossible, it seems like. And I completely agree that when and I think that it's great that we're having this discussion, because I think that I do things so differently. It gives people a different kind of perspective to look at. Like we haven't eaten like fast food for probably 3 years, maybe. Our kids have never gone through actual like McDonald's, never in their lives. 10 and 12, never been. Yeah, and they don't, and it's funny because some people might say, oh, when they're teenagers or anything, but my daughter, she is strict. She doesn't like meat, and so she prefers not to do. It's like I think she's just like this old soul because she listens to her body right away. When something doesn't feel good, she's like, no, no more. And what the heck? Like, how many adults I'll still eat chocolate cake. I don't care if I feel sick in the morning. Like, I'm having it. But she's such a wise little person to have around, because I see, where she's just like, every morning yogurt, raw oats, and honey, and it's just like, who are you?
And that's what we want, right? Because we want them to eat healthy. Because I remember being younger, they don't do it anymore. And let me tell you, 10 years being in the school system, I was just amazing to see what they would let these kids eat. When I was younger, I remember, I don't know if you remember those granola and the green one, and they would bring them to school for like snack or something.
Yeah.
When they have them to school, man, I still love those things. And then you get a little juice sometimes. But now, and I see the whole indoctrination, the whole setup, right? Because if we're educating these kids to be successful, right? And I'm sitting back and I'm watching, I'm making lesson plans, looking at the Common Core, and I'm like, And then you have a whole store in the front that you entice them with hot Cheetos and all this stuff.
Yeah.
The first school I worked at, the principal didn't play that mess. She was like, oh, you can't eat that here, honey. Parents will call us. But my son told me you said he couldn't eat these hot Cheetos. She's like, you damn right. That's
like, this is a good example. Yeah.
Exactly. But at the second school, it was okay. And then you wonder why they can't sit down, why they have behavior issues. Like, what's going on with them? Because you keep putting this freaking trash into them. And then if we want them to be successful and we really care about their education, how come we aren't teaching them more about their bodies and health?
Yes.
Like how you said your daughter eats well.
Yeah.
They're never going to be able to be successful, fully functioning successful, if they eat trash. And those are just facts, because everything we put in here is going to affect it.
Exactly. It's exactly. And I mean, there's so many, health professionals and coaches and things will say, liken it to a car. Do you run your car on clean gas? Do you pour, sugar in your gas tank? Or that your car is not going to run after that. Like, you can't run your car off vegetable oil. You can't run your car off, fried butter. Like, you have to put clean oil, like gas, what I guess gas probably isn't the best, but you know what I mean? It's like, you have to be conscientious of what you're putting into your body. And I think that as adults, we kind of give ourselves, like, we're adults, we've earned it, we're already this old, we can do it, we give us the pass, because we're, and then, no, don't do this to the kids. And then what kind of message are we sending doing that? Like, drinking our soda. I don't drink soda, but if perhaps I did, then my kids would think that would be what I would want them, or that it would be okay, and I don't mind that they try it and have a little bit someday, but it's not going to be a regular habit of mine. And I think that it's best that it shouldn't be theirs as well.
Exactly. Like, if you know what it takes, I tell people, like, cause I used to have a soda habit too. And I'm not going to lie, like, it was a week ago. Oh, was it the other night? Wait, what was I did get up and go to 7-Eleven. I had to think about that. I was like, don't say her alive, Randy. I went to 7-Eleven, and I think he saw the cup, so I didn't say anything. But I was like, I'm soda. I'm joking for that. And so I had one, but I kind of removed it. And so how I did that's why I had to go sneak and get one, because I took it out the house, because he would just want to drink them. I said, I can't do that. It's like me having like beer or something around here, but I just let him just drink the beer, right? But it's like, it makes a difference. Like, I told people it'll make it. First of all, like, we used to do these nutrition things, studies, and how people come to the school, and then they like did these little experiments and stuff and showed us, like, you basically might as well just open up your little sugar, the thing of sugar, and open that and just you'll slow that down your throat, because that's what you're doing. And they broke down the soda, like, awful. And then I lost weight staying away from a lot of soda. And then the juice, the vitamin, none of it's safe. You barely can drink safe water, but you have your better chances with the water. Everything has sugar in it. So it's just like, meals. But that soda, man, I tell you, and chocolate, oh my goodness.
Oh, I love that. I have, there's at least a week during every month where I have to definitely have chocolate on hand. It's so funny you say that too, because I was posting about this in like an autism women's support group. And I was saying how thankful I was for my spouse and that I wasn't promoting emotional eating, but that the other day I just had a really bad day and I was just feeling so frustrated and so overwhelmed with a conversation that I'd had. And with, again, someone who was kind of like questioning all of my passionate work that I do, which just drives you
Right.
into.
No, it does.
And I said to him, oh my gosh, I just want to eat cake and drink coffee. That's all I want right now. And I literally went out to the kitchen and he had gotten the flour out and the eggs and the baking soda and he got all the stuff out for me to make a cake. And it was just, I started the coffee up and made a coffee cake and
Mm,
had some coffee and we just, you know what I mean? It was, and but
yeah.
the support I felt like, oh, this is exactly what I needed at that moment. And it wasn't that I needed somebody to say, you don't need to eat your feelings away.
Right.
I needed someone to understand that, like, at that moment, I needed to just have my mind taken off of everything. And baking does that for me. Like, I love to
Mhm.
bake. We eat completely from everything I bake or make everything. My husband and I cook everything. We don't go to restaurants or anything like that. We're just completely home cookers. I don't know. No,
No, it's the right thing to
home
do.
restauratiers. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so we always know what's going into our mouths. And I'm not saying that we still don't eat bags of chips and I really find that I do better with any kind of sweets that I make myself, that are homemade, rather than anything with processing in them, because those mess me up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no good.
You say like I'm baking a cake today. I'm so excited.
Ooh,
I got it the other day. I was like, I thought I only had, because I don't really like chocolate. Like I like chocolate, but not chocolate cake. And it's
yeah,
crazy,
yeah,
right? Because I'll eat red velvet, and we all know that's really chocolate. So
definitely.
it's all in my head, right? But I wanted to show you something, but I got to look for the picture because we're talking about chocolate, right? Do you know that I found the hugest Snickers bar in the world? It was $20, Sarah. Oh my God, let me show you how big. I'm trying to share. You would never believe it. I'm trying to see what's thick around here. Okay, let's just pretend. Okay. Okay, I'll use this bag of trash bag. This thing, I said bag of trash bag.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so this is a roll of trash bag, right? Okay, so the Snicker bar, yeah, I would say exactly. It was that thick, this big, this wide, and maybe about that was
Oh my
longer.
goodness.
Man, I told my son, I said, look, can I have some? No. Because I was like, I'm not trying to eat this stuff in one day. I felt
Yeah,
like, because sometimes I'd be like, "God, I just need some chocolate. I
yeah,
tell people like it's a woman thing. It's just sometimes you just need not like a lot of chocolate. Sometimes you just need some
a
chocolate.
little bit.
So
Yeah,
that
seriously.
thing lasted me for a while because I was
Love
like,
that.
okay, now I can have it because it was so. I mean, $20 for a Snicker bar.
That's crazy. I love it.
Yeah, they had
I love
Reese's
to have
Pieces too.
Yeah, I love to have my Hershey bars on hand, or even chocolate chips. Sometimes if I
Yeah.
have chocolate chips, I'll just fill a little sandwich bag and just have a
Mhm.
little bit of snack on those. So much better
But
than
what that is, but I know I feel
gotta
you.
do it. Gotta do it.
Right? Ladies know, we know. And it's not
Exactly.
always surrounded around like, how people say when it's that time of the month. I find it not to be that time of the month. And I still need my chocolate.
Absolutely, right? No, it's mostly that time for me, but yes, absolutely. Oh, that's interesting. It's so I'm gonna totally tie this in. It has nothing to do with this and everything to do with it at the same time. And that is migraine headaches. And I found that sometimes chocolate does give me migraines, and that's so sad. But when I have suffered from migraines for my whole life, and it wasn't until maybe 5 years ago, I'm a former paralegal. My husband said to me, look, you research everything, all kinds of things. Why don't you research why you're getting migraines? And I was like, duh. So I dove deep and I just like took months and months and months of data and collected all of these things. And Dad definitely came to find out that it was estrogen drop that would cause my migraines to come. And so I started researching, okay, well, what can I do naturally? Because you can't take estrogen. It could cause like breast cancer and strokes and all kinds of things if you have too much. It has to be like extremely regulated. And so I started looking up and I found that soybeans are estrogen based beans. And I started getting chocolate soy milk. And I would drink it just in those first 2 weeks, or maybe like during ovulation kind of time period. And I stayed on top of my migraines and managed them for maybe 2 or 3 years after that. And sometimes I've gotten, too used to it, and so now I forget sometimes or whatever. But I haven't had to like go to I used to have to go to the ER and get shots, and it was just devastating all the time when I had them. So yeah, interesting little self-care there.
I'm sitting here amazed right now that you brought this up because, and the reason why is like, I don't know, I have a strong relationship with my higher power, right? And when you just said that right now, and you said it ties in, like it doesn't tie in, and when you just said that, because something that happened this morning with a friend of mine had everything to do with migraines. That's what started our morning.
Wow.
And it went into like my son, and then I was telling him what the doctors was telling me. So now I'm connecting here with you, and I'm going to run the conversation through with you, because I think this by no chance by like a coincidence, right?
So 100%. I love that. I'm so glad that I'm a good listener.
So there's a woman friend of ours that I have also a broadcasting app I go on called Haps. All right, and my male friend, they're kind of close with her and her fiance. Well, he told me yesterday that, I don't know if now she was on life support. She was just fine like the day before. Now she's on life support, and they're most likely looking for her to pass away. Now, granted, her fiance is all the way in Australia because he has to. He was taking care of he's helping his mom with Alzheimer's. So this just happened, and he can't even like get to her. And so my friend was proceeding to tell me that he did know that while she was broadcasting for the last few months or something, she had been complaining all of a sudden of migraines because she had a brain aneurysm, right?
I was just going to say that. Mm-hmm. That's sad too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then he said that she had been complaining about it, but I don't think he said that she went and did anything about it or anything.
Yeah.
But he kept saying that he remembered her saying that, and all of a sudden it just happened.
Yeah.
And when he was telling me this, I was just like kind of quiet, right? Because it's crazy, because at that time I was having a migraine, but I don't usually have them. But my son used to have them. Like his started, I would say like when he was in 2nd or 3rd grade.
Yeah, my son too.
It used to be bad, so I used to have to pick him up because he'd be screaming like if he was giving birth, like tears, face turning red, and I used to lay there and cry with him, like literally cry, like I made him cry, thinking about how badly. So I would take him. We have an urgent care not that far from us, and make the long story short with that is that because his doctor, he had the same doctor since he was a baby, up until now. And he would tell me that there's nothing they could do. Like he didn't want to do any CAT scans or anything because he needed more than one. He has migraines. Does he have
one episode? Yeah, I see.
Yeah, so he said no. So there was no CAT scan. So all they would give us was like the Motrins and stuff. And so they've lessened over the years. I have never seen a spell like that again. But in school, they were the worst. And since the pandemic, he just does the homeschooling, has a very limited amount of time in school. They've gotten less and less because they used to happen more in school. And yesterday, he ran out here to grab something. I was like, but they're so now more further apart. But when he said that about her and her aneurysm and her, or whatever she was being told, I think they were telling her something completely different that she had. But obviously it was something more because he had no aneurysm. Then it got me thinking, like, should I still be digging into this? Because I don't want, you know what I mean? There's be something that's more than what they're telling me.
Yeah. It'd be so great if they could come up with some sort of like a chemical test, because I feel like in my research, and I'm not a doctor and not a professional in that manner, but I am also, um, can read medical records and things like that. I was a medical paralegal. And so in my findings that I understood, it was a lot of chemical reactions, a lot of, and so I think in that, it would be great for them to be able to do more scans and things like that, because it took me going to a neurologist, to get a scan after 15 years or 20 years of suffering from migraines, to finally, I had medicines that worked, but to finally get like the prescription that actually took care of them. It's too bad that people have to go jump through such hoops to prove when they're having invisible pain.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's too bad.
We don't like want to wait till like the last minute. I just never understood when they're like, no, he needs more than one symptom. I'm like, that doesn't even make sense to me. So by the time we get to the second symptom, like, what do we do? Then we shouldn't be like, lift it, nip it in the bud. I don't find anything to be like, I don't find that to be normal. Like my sister said something to me some time back, which made no sense. And I was just like, oh my God. She's like, oh yeah, I found out that our migraines are hereditary. Like it was something to be proud of. Like, yeah, we get that in the family. And that's probably where his comes from. I'm like, oh, that's great. And I was just like, I'm like, no, I'm not telling for that. I really don't think that shit like that is normal. I think that is the things we put in our bodies. And then, you guys passed that bullshit on down. Nobody went to the doctor or tried to look into it. It probably had a lot to do with a lot of women in my family died. My mom's gone. She died in her 50s. My grandmother, my auntie. I basically have no more aunts or grandmas, anything like that. I was pretty young. There's got to be something there correlated. A lot of heart issues. Like I was diagnosed with high blood pressure and all that stuff, and so I was laying there this morning thinking like, is this gonna be me too? Like, is this like remembering the way my mom. I usually don't have a show with other people where I don't cry, so I'm really gonna try this time.
Oh, you're so good.
But I was really thinking that.
I was planning on it, so just.
I told people this is a lady's life, but I wasn't gonna allow any crying, but we're ladies. So.
Exactly, right?
Yeah, I was really thinking that because I just turned 43. I know that's young. But I thought I really have, like we're sitting here talking to our kids and giving them, the right tools to have a healthier, better life.
Yeah.
And I was like, my life's not over. That doesn't mean that mine's stopping. I was thinking like, I gotta like really get this is a lady's life, right? And we'll talk about this stuff. I have, and maybe somebody needs to hear these things. I have the Mirena, the IUD or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it lasted for like 8 years. Well, I'm pretty sure it's been past 8 years, Sarah. And I'm thinking like, Randy, when are you going to go and check
right?
bad effects if you just leave that? And the other day I was in the bathroom and I just stood up and I just felt heavy, like pressure there. Like, how you listen to your body?
Yeah.
And I was like, that can't be normal. But I felt like pressure. I was like, what, what is that? And then I started thinking, I was like, probably, some people just put in the back of their head and they're like, I'm fine. Keep going. I'm terrified of the doctor. As a lot of people don't know this and then the history and everything like that. And I've never heard this. A doctor for a Black woman is like a police officer to a Black man. And that's the honest to God truth. I've been trying so long for somebody to like go on this journey.
You're kidding me.
And it's hard for me to talk about that because people don't listen. Even people that look like me, or men, they don't get it. Like that's a real thing for us. Do the homework, the history of how they experiment on us, and then how they treat us today in the hospitals when it comes to giving birth and all that stuff. My experience with my mother. I used to be comfortable with going to the doctor, and then I realized a lot of things. And then ever since, the more, I've learned what was really opening my eyes to what's going on around me, it just, you know what I mean? And I sit there and I don't talk to people about these things because I don't have people that really even care or try to understand me, But I'm terrified.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and, I really think that a lot of what you're saying has to, again, kind of goes right back to we're not old generations anymore. We need to know about our medical history. We need to be forthcoming with our information so that when our kids have issues, in any areas, heart issues, stomach issues, colon issues, anything, they're not searching for answers as to what's happening and what could have I have done to prevent this. Like, let's be preventative for them. Let's be open, like just like you said, it's now, how hard will it be for you to uncover any of that information? You would have to go through medical records of your family, and things like that. So those of you who are listening who have those family members, go talk to them, sit down with them, find out their medical history, find out what runs in your family, find out, if you did have an aunt or uncle or mom or dad who, had cervical cancer, who had a stroke. Like, look at their lifestyles, look at everything, look at the big picture, and make it preventative for yourself and your family.
Yeah, we definitely did have those things I didn't know. Like, my great grandma had breast cancer. Then, not her daughter, but her daughter's daughter had breast cancer. My great auntie, she had stomach cancer. My mom had a stroke. Her mom had a stroke. But my mom, she died from I think it was something was going on. Like, she had terrible medical care. Like, all the junk they kept putting in her body, and that's why I just get so angry and emotional, because she could still be here. Like, they in the medical care, and then just the whole insurance thing. It's just, there's like basically the financial aspect. They kept shifting around. Like, she just go to the ER, go home, this and home, go to the ER. Last time she didn't come back home. So it's like a lot of things that with you just within the women, not really the men. Well, no. My cousin, he's doing bad now because he didn't take care of his health though. He had diabetes. You gotta take care with diabetes. People don't understand. You gotta take care. You have your whole lifestyle changes because he lost a few toes, and now he's even sicker because he wasn't eating right. I have another cousin lost his leg. Like,
oh gosh, yeah,
I just don't.
Devastating. And the sad, really hard truth, Brandy, is that it's choices. It's choices. What are we going to do? What kind of choices are we going to hold ourselves accountable for making? Are we going to remain repeating the same kind of choices that have fallen, on our parents and grandparents before us? Are we going to see the kind of, I learned this from a good friend, when we know we can do better.
Right.
And that's where we start. We start with just doing better for ourselves. What can you do to be better every single day? Whether it's, you do it for a minute every morning or something. Like, you don't have to challenge yourself in these, like, to run a marathon when you've never walked around the block, right? Like, take it slow, take it easy, be gentle, have grace and understanding for yourself. Yeah. And that will resonate and start to show outwardly. And that's a great way of being and a great example to others.
Yeah, most definitely. Be kind to your body, be kind to yourself. Yeah. I've seen people be more kinder to their cars than they are to their own bodies. Right? Up with that. Like, you can lift the lid and tell me everything that's going on there, but yeah, what's going on here?
So true.
Yeah, it's good to have these talks. I'm so happy that you it's perfect that you're my first guest for the Ladies Life.
So
I didn't know. I knew where I wanted to go with it, but I didn't know where I was like. Because, I'm going through some kind of transition here. I don't know what's going on here. It's amazing to be. I love being a woman. It might look hard outside, but trust me, I'd rather be a woman. Because it's this journey you go on, and I know there's something going on here, but I think this show is going to help me because I have to remember I'm helping others, and so me, because I've been just trying to grow and be more transparent. When I do my shows, and I needed to talk about the things that I go through so that I can help somebody else. They might be going through that too. Yeah. And now I've just got this whole better visual of what this show will be. And it's definitely these things that we need to talk about as mothers, our fears, not be scared to be judged, not be scared to, just don't,
Yeah.
no fear. I think that might be the tagline. The
That's
ladies
a
like
whole nother episode.
right? But I love it. And I don't want this to be like the last time you come around. Like
Oh,
we could
would love
we could
to
do a
be a
weekly
part
if
of
you
it.
ever have time.
Please. Yeah.
You could do like a be my weekly honorary guest.
Woo, I love it.
Yes.
Oh, I'd be honored to. I think that being able to share information like this, it's as a fellow podcaster, it's my mission and my passion too, to share all of the information and success that I've found in parenting a new way, and the success and self growth that I've found in being a podcaster and really embracing who I am as a person. Like I would say if you told me last November, before then, that I would be on camera and I'd be okay with it all the time, I would have been like, no thanks. But it is so inspiring and amazing that it took kind of doing that to make me realize, like, oh my gosh, like it's been 10 years since you've curled your hair or done your makeup, and now you have all these nice outfits to wear, and it's my self-esteem has just like plummeted rather, gone through the roof, but not the other way. So yeah, it's amazing what this has been able to do for me. So amazing that we can connect, and I just love making connections with people. So I'm just so honored to have you here today, or to be on your show, to have you here in my studio. Oh my heavens, get over yourself, Sarah.
I'm coming to your show too, don't worry.
Yes,
I'll be over.
Oh, that is so funny. Yeah, that's great. I am so happy to be here, and I love to share experiences, information. So yeah, I think people learn a lot from others' experiences. They can make different choices, or kind of think, I heard this, just like we were talking about, maybe some ways that help people figure out migraines, or help, things like that. So amazing.
Yeah, it was some good stuff, right? And you see, we just freestyled it because I didn't have nothing together, and I felt good with that. I was like, we're just going to do this, because I already knew the energy you and I would be able to, that's how it should be, right? So
exactly.
It was yay!
Thank you so much.
Anytime you're honorary, your fam. I do want people to know who you are, where you're at, where they can find you, and all you do. So
yeah. Okay, well, I am Sara Bradford is my real name. My author and host name is S.J. Childs, and you can find me at the S.J. Childs Show, which and my author name is also S.J. Childs. I have 7 books on special needs children's books that just help kids understand how to better support their peers with neurodiversity or physical differences. And I have a book about anxiety to help kids understand how to process anxiety, what it looks like and feels like biologically as well as emotionally, and how to work those things out. So some really great, valuable information. The SG Child Show, our tagline is bringing value to families through education and resources. And I've kind of really been adding to that, exploring and celebrating neurodiverse minds, because that's a passion for me. And, maybe in another episode, we'll talk about autism and how much that is, my passion and what I talk about. Mm-hmm. I have 3 kids and a husband with autism, so I'm a huge advocate. And you can find me on all social medias, YouTube, all podcast platforms, and I was going to say somewhere else. Oh, the website, sjchilds.org. Hey, you can find everything there.
Wonderful. Yeah, we have so much more to do, because as like I said, I was a teacher, and that was one of my things too. I also worked with some of the the kids that had the individual education plan, and then some special needs, and the bullying that I would see within those children, and especially autistic children. That
I got stats for next
me.
time. I got them
Yeah.
ready. I had them ready,
Definitely.
but we veered into other directions, which is great. I love it. I love it.
Hey, we'll focus in on that one too. So I think
Absolutely.
parents of like children that are autism need to hear, and then people that don't, so they know how to get their kids. Because I did want to next time talk about how how we talked about like in
100%.
schools, like talking to these children about like differences. Like when you know somebody with a catheter, I'll talk about that one later. But when you know, like you're gonna have how children are, and you know that things like that might shock them, then you get them prepared for it, and you
Yes,
start.
you prepare them
Yeah.
100%. I love that. And I can't wait to come back on and tackle some more of these issues with you. So bring it on. I love it. Thank you so much,
You're
Ladies
welcome.
Life. I'm just such pleasure to be here.
Yes. And guys, I hope you all enjoyed. There's so much more to come. Sarah made my day. I'm like all smiles now because I got on here. I was like mommy pissed. I was like,
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna give him a hug and give him a kiss.
Now we raise ourselves by lifting others, right? So
Amen.
that's my motto.
Amen. Okay. Well, can you, before I shut out, can you stick around for like 30 seconds? I have to say that because some teams, when I shut the show down, the guests will leave too. And I
See ya. No, I'll wait around. Thank you.
Okay,
Bye, guys.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for stopping by. Like I said, this will run on the Real Wise radio really soon live, and then you can catch an episode of it. And Sarah will be back. I will be back. And this is your girl, Brandy J. Until next time. Peace.